What's going on, fight fans? Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the main event right here on Franchise Sports Media. I'm Kalani Lua.
I'm Griff and Kemp.
Folks, 2022, Griff, is coming to an end. Sad, but true.
It went so fast.
It went so fast.
Yes,
That's
it
what
did.
she said.
Ooh,
But
and it's on the
at the
show.
same time, we had a lot of great moments. We're going to dive into that momentarily. We look into the future. 2023 looks phenomenal with some of the news and possibilities of what could happen. We're already finding out we can't have nice things.
We can't have nice things, you know. Things just don't really pan out the way they should, and it's unfortunate.
We already have a fight card in Brazil that is tremendous going on in January. In February, we were going to have a fight card that featured a former middleweight champion and a middleweight title contender, Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa.
The handsome devils.
You got the secret juice monster taking on the Grim Reaper himself. This is going to be a phenomenal showing between two very in their prime, athletic, top tier middleweights. We're already finding out that's not going to happen. Paulo Costa pulling out, not due to injuries, but with one fight left on his contract. Him and the UFC cannot agree on terms of financial situations. Surprise, surprise, Griff. Fighter in the UFC having trouble over how much they're being paid. What are your initial thoughts on Costa Whittaker now being shelved and pushed to the back burner?
I mean, the fight was interesting. It's an interesting matchup for sure. Robert Bobby Knuckles, you know, he's one of the best names at middleweight, one of the top contenders, someone who no matter what, whoever he's in the ring with, he is going to be seen as a favorite because he's Bobby Knuckles.
He brings the fight every time.
Every time. The man's a former champion. He has shown he's top tier when it comes to middleweights. And then you have the handsome devil, the juice monster, whatever they're calling him these days, Paulo Costa. I mean, fresh off of his win, you know, a win that was weird. I wouldn't.
A little different than normal, but hey, a win's a win.
A win's a win. But before that, he had lost 2 in a row to Israel Adesanya and to Marvin Vettori. I didn't know if I gave Paulo Costa the biggest chance in this fight. I didn't see this and think, oh, that one's going to be close. That one's going to be real tight. No, I didn't think that at all. But the thing is, more than how it affects Bobby Knuckles and Paulo Costa, this now affects the entire middleweight division because it opens the doors for a certain young wolf to get his shot at the number 1 to 2 contender in the middleweight division and possibly get right into his first title shot.
Well, first off, he's got to be willing to accept the fight.
Are you talking about the young wolf? You talking about Khamzat Chimaev?
We're talking about him. We're talking about the Cliff Lip Bandit.
You didn't have to say his lip.
We're talking about him.
There's so many different
He
nicknames.
has to be willing to accept that fight.
Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he?
First off, there's been several other big fights offered to him on the table. He hasn't accepted.
Are any of those fights a clear shot to the title than a fight with Robert
Colby
Whittaker?
Covington. You beat the number 1 contender at 170. Who else are you supposed to fight to get another title shot?
But as we've seen, he struggles to make that weight down at welterweight. It's a little bit of a struggle.
He said he'll fight at both, and you've been calling guys out at 170. So guess what, buddy? Let's go. You want to fight the best at 170? Hey, I'm not against him whatsoever. But I also feel like, hey, you're talking a big game. You gotta start backing it up. Because you've already fought Gilbert Burns. See, it's unlike when Sugar Sean O'Malley or even your boy McGregor were coming up, where you took on contenders as you rose. You get to a certain level, there's no stepping back unless you're no longer in that title contention.
Right.
Once Conor McGregor took on Dennis Seaver, it's like, buddy, we can't give you anyone else. We have to give you top tier guys.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with Khamzat. Paulo Costa is still in that. Even though he struggled in some of his last ones, I'm not going to so much knock him because he didn't beat a great middleweight in Israel Adesanya or even a very good middleweight in Marlon Vettori. If they fought again, who knows? That maybe that fight goes Costa's way. But Robert Whittaker, as you pointed out, tough as nails. We've seen this dude on one leg literally go out there, bring it for 5 rounds against Yoel Romero twice. Who does that? We've seen him take on Israel Adesanya. He didn't come out victorious, but he gave Izzy a run for his money at times. It would have been a very good matchup. But if this doesn't happen, and before we skip too far ahead, I want to get into the Costa part of it as well. But if this fight doesn't happen, you now have 2 names, Covington and Whittaker, that is Khamzat is legit and wants to prove, buddy, you got to take on one of these 2 guys. Granted, okay, you could take on a Jorge Masvidal or somebody else of that ilk. But those 2 names are right there for you. And as you said, it opens up the door. Guess what, buddy? Slide right in. And now, just like Tony Ferguson did when you and Nate Diaz couldn't be made. And Tony Ferguson said, I'll fight the big fight on 3 hours notice.
Yep.
This is his chance. You got several weeks, a month and a half to go ahead and accept it and say, okay, I'll do it. If he doesn't, you got to start wondering, does he believe he's ready for that next stage?
I think he thinks he's ready. I think he truly believes he's ready, no matter if it's welterweight or middleweight. But the thing is, if you're Khamzat Chimaev, and let's be honest, if you're Dana White, because nothing's going to be better for the UFC than if Khamzat Chimaev is in a title fight. Doesn't even have to win it. He just has to be in it. That is going to be a pay-per-view that sells millions of buys. It's going to be amazing.
For sure.
But if you're Khamzat, you have to look at your two options and say, it sounds weak. It sounds like a very, very weak way of thinking about it, but it's business. This is business. It's money. There's money on the line. What is the easiest way for me to get to that point where I have a belt around my waist? Is it easier to go through Chaos Covington, go down all that weight, cut down, finally get in the ring with him? We all know Kobe Covington, he ain't no scrub on the canvas. He is a great grappler, and that's something that is a strong suit for Covington. And he's got a gas tank.
He's going for 25 rounds if you need be.
You better be ready for 5 rounds when you fight Covington.
You better be.
All right. Or is it easier to get a fight lined up with Robert Whittaker? Robert Whittaker, who has held the belt before, who has been a champion, who's been in title fight wars, and you won't have to cut as much weight, but that other guy ain't going to cut that much weight either. Robert Whittaker, he's more than prepared to fight at middleweight, and it's hard to decide which one would Khamzat rather have.
Because we're not going to go in there and out-grapple Robert Whittaker just off pure instincts. Robert Whittaker has shown against Yoel Romero, most notably, hey, buddy, I don't have the wrestling pedigree background, but I'm also just not going to get taken down at will here. I'm going to go out here just like when he took on Marlon Vettori. Vettori couldn't necessarily get him down with ease. So we're going to have to stand up at times. And we've seen Robert Whittaker, I can knock just about anybody out in this division right here. So the weight cutting to me will be the biggest factor. Which one does he think can he make 170? Because him and Covington would be the biggest fight. That would be the bigger fight. But him and Whittaker will be a very good one as well, especially when you look at both divisions, got brand new champions right now.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to be in rematches in the foreseeable future. So right now, what is the better option? I want to say this. Either one, if he fought Usman or if he fought Izzy, if they were still champions, would be huge.
Right, of course.
I'm not sure which one necessarily would be better for his quote-unquote legacy or for his own brand or name. But at this point, Khamzat has to go ahead and accept one of these two fights.
Can I paint it for you in this way? Think about it like this. We're saying that Chaos Covington and Bobby Knuckles are his two options right now. But the thing is, if he's thinking a little bit further, he's looking a little bit down the road, maybe he's thinking about it instead. It's not about the guy who I'm about to fight next for that shot. It's who I will be fighting in that shot. I'd rather fight either Edwards or Usman, or I'd rather fight Adesanya or Pereira. And let me tell you, if Pereira gets it done somehow again in a rematch with Adesanya and he retains that belt, I cannot see Khamzat passing up the opportunity to go against a kickboxer whose grappling seemed a little bit less than Israel Adesanya's. I can't see him passing that up.
I don't see him passing it up, but I can see him go in there taking it lightheartedly and catching a left hook to the...
He ain't no Sean Strickland. He ain't gonna do it like that. Khamzat is serious about his business, and he ain't here to joke around.
Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And we got a little off topic here with Khamzat, but like I wanted to talk about with the Paulo Costa side of it, Costa not getting the fight. Once again, it's another UFC fighter at different ends with the UFC or financial payouts. We've seen this with Randy Couture, George St. Pierre, the Diaz brothers, BJ Penn, Matt Hughes, Tito Ortiz, John Jones. I mean, your boy Conor McGregor. It goes on and on and on.
Yep.
I mean, what's the issue here? We know, look, Dana does say these guys do get paid right. And you're right. The media doesn't ask them what they made, and they don't tell you what they fully got. You just see the payout. I mean, the UFC is not necessarily going to change, but this can't be good for business that you are consistently every other pay-per-view ends with a top-tier fighter over finances?
It's the story of the UFC. I mean, we give the UFC and Dana White their flowers all the time about how they run their business in a way that makes it more productive than boxing and all these other fighting organizations. But that's the thing. A lot of fighters are coming out. The way the business is set up, it's kind of hard for these fighters to be able to say, no, that's not right. We want change. How do you make change when there's not a fighters union? There's no one representing the fighters'
Say that
interests.
one more time, Griff.
A fighters union.
Oh, that's the shame.
That's a shame.
Don't say those words.
I know it's a cuss word around here, and Jake Paul.
Don't say those words. Don't say those words, because guess what? You bad boy.
It ain't good.
Don't do that.
It ain't good. We might be looked down upon by the UFC right now when we're trying to do some business.
Everybody gets looked down on by the UFC.
Dana, please don't call us out at the press conference, all right? We mean the best. But what I'm saying is, like, because of the fact, no, these guys aren't able to join together, women and the men who fight in the UFC. Nope, they can't come together.
They
can't.
choose not to.
It's a matter of finances. Are you gonna stop your entire career just to risk that other people will jump with you and will get in that lifeboat with you and say, no, we're not going to fight again until there's change, there's equal pay, or whatever you want? It's a problem of guys, girls need to make their money. They need to support their families.
Sure.
They need to continue their careers. But maybe the UFC doesn't really pay the way it should, especially with how violent the sport is.
Well, no, it certainly doesn't. I've always thought it, and I'm not the first one to say it, obviously, but I've always thought the whole you get paid for your show up fee, then your win fee. It's like, no, I split the winning purse in half maybe and make that our total fee. Paul Acosta was given 70 to show, 70 if he won.
Yeah.
It's 140. How about you split that 70, 35 each? Me and Robert Whitaker now, I don't know what Whitaker would make, but Cost would have made $105,000 off that. 70 plus 35, 135. I mean, 105. You do that, right, on top of the pay-per-view points, et cetera, and then it goes back to, okay, well, you guys, because of the ESPN deal and the Fox deal, you made the company with Reebok initially. Now it's Venom. Yeah. Now we don't have our own sponsors. First off, don't you dare disrespect Venom.
Not an ounce of drip in the UFC. I'm sorry.
First off, Venom is killing it.
Hit up Nike or something, because y'all need something else. The Venom, it's not it.
Venom looks nasty. That black that they got with the highlight black right there that looks like the Oregon Ducks jerseys.
Everyone
love it.
The fighters are going in there in their goddamn Spanx and whatever. It's barely any drip, but the only things they put on the fighter, whether it's the shorts or the shorts in the top for the girls, let's make it drippy. Let's get these people out here in the product.
What do you suggest?
Hey, UFC, here's a crazy idea. Dana, you tell me you don't know the number for Gucci? You don't know the number of Louis Vuitton? Like, hey, let's get this going. Let's get crazy with it. Let's make these boys and girls look phenomenal in the octagon.
You want the fighters to wear Gucci?
Why not? It's the UFC, baby. Why? Anything is possible. Anything is possible.
But here's the thing, though. What other sport is wearing Gucci when they fight?
Exactly. What other sport is wearing Gucci?
You know why they don't? It's ridiculous. You know how much it would cost just to make a pair of tights in Gucci? It's too much. I wouldn't even want those. No.
Dana got the money. Dana got the money.
Look, Dana's got the money, but at the same time, for all the fighters on there, I got to get your shorts. I got to get your gloves. No, not the gloves, but I got to get your shorts. I got to get, for the women, your tops. I got to get your jackets, the t-shirt that you wear underneath the jacket, and the pants. Hell no. That's so ridiculous right there. Griff, you said a lot of weird stuff here. That might be one of the weirdest ones. You want them to wear Gucci and Louis Vuitton out there?
It's Christmas, all right? We're making our wish list, and that's the very top of mine.
I'm going to tell you this right now.
I want to see some real entertainment.
That might be at the top, but when Santa sees it, denied.
Get out of here. Whether it's fighting for equal pay or fighting for the nice Gucci shorts, all right? The fighters, and especially you got to give credit. You have to give credit to one Jake Paul, because whether he means it sincerely,
he don't want Gucci to the ring.
No, ain't what I'm getting at. What I'm saying is whether he seriously is, whether he's sincere about what he's talking about when he says, "I want the UFC to have a fighters union. I want to get these guys and women paid." Whether he means it or not, he is fighting for. He is pushing off a good cause. He is doing something where he's making bets and everything with these fighters he fights. I think it's something that maybe down the road will eventually happen, but for it to happen though, for these people to have proper representation, it's gonna take the big names on the roster.
It takes, and that's the thing. They can do it. They choose not to. The mid-level to lower tier fighters financially can't afford it. No. All the big names could though. The problem is right now, most of the big names, John Jones, when's he gonna fight? Conor McGregor, is he ever going to fight? Ronda Rousey, she's in the WWE right now, but the fans not necessarily behind her all the way. Brock Lesnar, long time ago, he's been gone. Daniel DC, well, he's at the desk right now. He's no longer in the big main attraction.
Yep.
Jose Aldo retired. Like a lot of your big star powers aren't necessarily there anymore. Yeah, you got Izzy, you got Usman, You have the lightweight division. Notice I said a division because there's several big stars there.
Yep.
But for your true mega stars, they're no longer GSP. They're no longer there. So that power that you could have had with the support of them, when they initially came out with it, yeah, it would have been great if they went on ahead and had those guys behind them. For whatever reason, they chose not to rock the boat for their own financial purposes, which is unfortunate because it's like, guys, you know what it's like to be here like us. And I think that's why Jake Paul is doing it, because say what you will about the guy. He's had his fights, he's trained, and he's like, I see what you guys go through. And I see what the real pay is like because I'm on that side of the business factor like Floyd Mayweather is, him and his brother Logan. So they see what these fighters have to go through on a physical day-to-day grind. Then they see the financial aspect of it, all the costs that you have to pay with your train. You know the UFC only pays for you to have 2 people in your corner?
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
You have to pay for the rest.
Yep.
That means flights, hotel rooms, that's all on you.
You're paying your own training camp. You're paying for everything.
Now, granted, if you're one of the big name guys or you're the champion, you can kind of afford it a little bit, but still, that's coming out of your pocket when we see these guys with these big, massive camps. I mean, you see what Khabib travels with, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, granted,
He rolls deep.
I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but those guys probably have their own money as well to do it, but still. So it's one of those where you say, if we only, he's another one, he's no longer active. If only these guys and gals got together, decided to do it, they could make change. Even if, like Francis Ngannou said, what if we kept the sponsor with Venom? But what if you allow 1 or 2 spots on our shorts for us to put our own sponsors on there?
They would never let it.
But here's the thing, though. Why not? Because if you look at that damn ring, it's nothing but sponsors on there. It's nothing but stickers all over. It's like those vans you see where they got stickers all over. Here's my family and our 5 kids and a dog. And then we went to this school, honorary elementary, this and that. Why do they give out honor roll elementary stickers? I don't want to get into that. But you see all that. That's what the UFC map looks like. So why not do it for the fighters? And again, we're only getting 1 or 2. We're not saying give us 5. We're doing 1 or 2. You play UFC video game where you made a custom fighter, you get the shorts, and you get to put some stickers on there, some banners.
Oh, yeah.
Let us get 2 spots on there. They can't conflict with what we got on. I can't wear Coors if we're sponsored by Modelo. I can't wear a Nike sign if it's Venom. But there's plenty of other sponsored deals out there for us to get. Why not?
There's just a lot of problems. But here's the thing, though. The business is thriving. Despite how the fighters are treated, we have to admit Dana White has ran this business for Titus at one point, but now mostly Dana White and everyone now sitting at the head of the UFC. They have made this company into a powerhouse. It's nowhere near the NFL, but damn, when it comes to combat sports, they are at the top. They are every pay-per-view, every weekend. It seems like everyone is going to be watching the fights.
And that's the thing. It's nowhere near the NFL only because the NFL on Sunday, you have so many games.
Yes.
The red zone, I could watch all the games, highlights right there, the touchdowns, all that. UFC doesn't necessarily have something like that. But Griff, you got to admit, there's nothing like a big feel for a big fight weekend.
Nothing's like
We come on this show weekly, and when there's big fights coming up, that electricity, you feel it throughout the city. And as it builds up, every day gets a little bit closer. There's times where you might say, I got something going on. I'm traveling. I can't afford a pay-per-view.
Yep.
Thursday, Friday rolls around, and you see that weigh-in, and you see the face-off. You start calculating like, wait a minute, if I move this around, don't buy any drink Thursday, and don't eat McDonald's, and just eat some top ramen at home, maybe I could afford this pay-per-view because you get excited for it.
Yes.
There's times we'll miss a football game just because of work or whatever. You know, we can check our phones, this and that. There's some fights you're like, I can't miss this. Even if I can't watch the entire card from start to finish, I can't miss these 3 fights. I can't miss the main card. I can't miss the main event. Or I want to see this fight in the prelims. How many of us are saying about football? I got to see the kickoff. I got to see the first quarter. But there's times where we look at it and say, you see who's on the prelims? I want to see this person.
Yes.
I want to see this lady right here. I want to see this guy right here. This person here. So there's nothing like the UFC when a fight's in town or when a fight's just coming around. And hopefully as 2023 comes up, this becomes less and less. Yes, it's a business, and I get it from their perspective. But it's a swan song. Something that's been talked about for many years. And it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is. I hope the best. We'll see how this goes. But until then, UFC, it's going to keep on going. Fighters going to keep fighting. Knockouts going to keep happening. So. It's the way it goes.
I'm glad you said that, Griff. You said knockouts are going to happen. Because I want to ask you, since we are at the end of 2022, if you could pick, let's say, 3 moments, 3. You don't got to give them all right now. I'll give you a little bit of time to think. 2022 highlights. What stood out to you? 3 things that stood out to you. If you got one right now, shoot it. Then think about it. I'll shoot mine as well. But what are 3 things that stood out to you as a highlight for the year 2022 in the UFC?
3
Or
things.
combat sports in general. We talk about everything here.
We
so
talk
boxing,
about everything, man. We talk everything.
Wrestling,
I would say
taekwondo,
little karate class over
Muay
at
Thai?
over at the YMCA.
Oh,
Everything.
Hi-ya!
Everything.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Talk to me now.
Let me give you my one. All
Go
right.
ahead.
No, I would say, and again, no, in no particular
I got
order.
you.
One thing that really stood out to me, and something that I still sticks in my head. I still think about it to this day. Just when I hopped on my phone one day and I was looking and I see a little video. Somebody made a cute little edit, and they do a video edit of one Leon Rocky Edwards knockout of Kamaru Usman, and the video starts right when Edwards is going back to his corner after the 4th, and the coach is in there, and his British accent is iconic, and he's saying, "You gotta get out the fire. You look like trash out there." The whole thing is set to the soundtrack of Rocky Balboa. And then boom, he knocks him in the head with the kick. It was just that moment by itself, but also that little edit. I got to give a shout out. Whoever that was, I wish I could tag you. I'm going to find you. But that was a beautiful moment. That was part of one of many crazy out of nowhere moments in this year. But I would argue that might be the number one, because nobody, not you, not me, not Trish, not anybody. Nobody gave Edwards a chance in that fight. Especially no one gave him a chance after the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and in the midway through the 5th. No one gave him a chance. And he did it. And I wish I could quote what he said. What did he say? He said, "Pound for pound, headshot, dead." Iconic.
That was great.
Thank you.
I don't like how you threw me under the bus.
How so?
You said no one gave him a shot. You even pointed at me with your finger.
Make sure you knew I was talking to you.
Clearly, you don't remember sitting there at B-Dubs. I said, I'm rooting for Usman. But what I did not like was the fact that he was in Black Panther 2. And I even told you guys, history has shown, when you have something on the horizon, and I brought up the Quentin Rampage Jackson versus Rashad Evans moment,
Right.
you lose. Conor McGregor, I still use this as a theory.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor, the first time he fought Nate Diaz, had he originally supposed to fight Rafael dos Anjos, had he won, I think he was going to fight GSP at International Fight Week. George St. Pierre was there. The rumors already talked about. The big pay-per-view start now versus the start of past. It was lining up. But then Nate Diaz says, "Not surprised, mother," and goes in there and pulls off the upset.
Yep.
I said the same thing there. But you know what, Griff? I don't want to see your thunder. Kind of did. But I don't want to see your thunder.
Right,
no,
okay.
seriously, that was really good. Seriously, that was really good.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you a heartbreak moment.
Oh, let's hear it.
You guys know I love me. Charles Oliveira.
Oh, no.
Charles Oliveira took out Michael Chandler to win the UFC lightweight title. Defeated Dustin Poirier to defend the lightweight title. Had some BS commissioner tell him, "You're half a pound over it. You can't defend the title. It's got to be vacant," when he takes out Justin Gaethje. All 3 fighters, he got dropped, got back up like the Undertaker.
Let him know.
Rose from the ashes. Tap out. TKO. Don't matter. You're done. He takes on Islam Makhachev. The hype behind this was so unreal. Seriously, Griff, we sat here on the show and talked about it almost a month in advance. The hype behind it was so awesome.
Yep.
The wrestling of Islam versus the jiu-jitsu of Charles Oliveira. Going on in Abu Dhabi, from the mountains of Dagestan to the favelas of Brazil. This was going to be awesome.
It was going to be.
Islam beat the shit out of Charles. I'm sorry. Charles, I love you, okay? I don't know if Islam is just that much better, or if that night, as George St. Pierre said, he was just not the better fighter that night. Charles definitely felt the power of the Dagestani. He got tapped out. And it's unreal because you definitely heard people say afterwards, Charles tapped out fairly quick. Now, granted, maybe he just felt the strength earlier of Islam, and Islam, like Khabib, his coach, just has unbelievable strength. So when he gets that choke in, kind of like the neck crank on your boy, it's not necessarily a submissive move, but it's so damn powerful. You're like, nope, I don't want no more of this. That was such a heartbreak moment for me because honestly, Islam was on the verge, like I said about your boy, Conor. Had he won that, to look in the corner at the coach, 29-0 Khabib, you retired undefeated, barely lost any rounds here in the UFC. one more for the 155 GOAT title. Me, you, one more go. Tell your mama you love her, but one more time. And we were robbed today, Griff.
We never
were
get.
robbed.
We just don't get what we want. It never happens the way it's supposed to.
Like we said to start the show, sometimes we just can't have nice things.
No, we really can't. Hey, we for one chance, one more time, right before the end of 2022, can we just get one more very low monotone, sad Oliveira for the one more time?
You know, I love me some Charles
Oliveira.
He'll be back. He'll be back with a vengeance.
Baby.
Ain't no maybe.
There's an Islam still to deal with.
Unlike some people, he didn't start a new liquor line and get all filled up on that. Unlike some people, he ain't having some other issues. Unlike some people, he ain't punching no senior citizens in the bar because they don't have a drink with him. Unlike some people, he didn't try his hand in another sport and get knocked out by somebody who don't got knockout power. Unlike some people, he didn't get all fat and juiced up, allegedly, and out there just living his best life with other issues. I'm not even gonna talk about that because, you know, that's got nothing to do with the fight. He ain't do all that like some people. Oliveira will be back.
No comment. Just no comment. We'll comment. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in 2023, baby.
Do you have another moment for 2022 that stands out to you, Griff?
I will say Michael Chandler. Just Michael Chandler as a fighter in 2022. I gotta tip my hat. I gotta applaud that man. No one is more entertaining, whether they're kicking Tony Ferguson in the face, whether they're getting their crazy rumble brawl on with Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier bleeding, whether he's blowing the snotty blood noodles right onto Dustin Poirier's face. It don't matter. It's just pure entertainment. And brother, man, Michael Chandler, I know you're a big podcast man, all right? I've seen you. I love you. You're naturally talented. I will tell you, I would be honored, absolutely privileged, if you would have the opportunity to welcome back the notorious Conor C-Mac McGregor, all right? It's going to be a beautiful one. Shout out to you, brother. It's going to be a great one, all right? Michael Chandler, 2022 version, my top MVP.
Knock his ass out. He's definitely got, I believe, the knockout to get with that front kick knockout of Tony Ferguson. Brutal to watch.
That hurt.
As we wrap up the show here,
Yep.
I'm going to give two more. And these aren't heartbreaks. Well, one is a slight heartbreak.
Okay.
Alex Pereira over Israel Adesanya. Like Izzy, this guy came out, unless you followed kickboxing, he was unknown. Who is this guy?
Right.
Comes in, and you're thinking, okay, kickboxer. Modern day MMA, you're going to be able to maybe beat some of the lower guys, but as you go up, wrestling and jiu-jitsu and grappling, these guys said, no, that's not an issue for us. We're going to beat the hell. And he's got one of the best entrances. When he stands in the entrance hallway, takes the bow and arrow out. That video of his son doing it in sync with him, chill.
Oh, that was nice.
But the fact that he came in as the last man to beat Izzy, and that was the hype. Izzy even said, they brought you in here because of me. There's two other kickboxers that not because of me, but not because I fought them or lost to them, but because I've shown what kickboxers can do here. They got signed. We'll see how they do later. But Alex, you're here because of me. Do what you got to do to meet me in the ring. And they did. And they gave us a hell of a match. Hell of a match. But the fact that, like Leon, got that pep talk at the end, came out there and finished him with the left hook to win the title, to dethrone one of the great champions. And that leads me into my second part. One thing that's so beautiful about this sport, you never know what's going to happen when that bell rings. To see Usman and Izzy, long title reigns dethroned by fifth round knockouts. To see Islam come out of nowhere and choke out one of the greatest 155ers of all time. To see the women go out there time after time after time, put on a show and blast you out the water. To see the men at light heavyweight go out there and exchange the title, hot potato. To see the guys at 125 still keeping it alive, 135, 145 is a meat grinder. Yes, to see this sport evolve, the new fighters who are coming in, the up and comers, the people returning. Hell, to see guys like Glover Teixeira, Shogun Rua, who you would think, you guys are grandfathers in the sport now, still slinging and banging. It has been phenomenal year after year. No matter what, fights get delayed because of injuries, fighter negotiations, trouble outside the cage, whatever it is, Dana White figures out a way to make this work. Where at the end of the year, you look back and you just say, damn, we saw that.
We saw that.
And then to me, Griff, that's one of the most fantastic things about watching the fight. Especially we watching it together. The reactions we have when we see something, granted, sometimes you could kind of call it. Yeah, he's about like Hosma versus Kevin Holland. The thought was there that maybe Holland has a chance, but once you started grappling, we kind of knew it. Yeah. But then when you see Pereira, and you're like, oh, Pereira's done, and you hear that pep talk, oh, damn. Oh, damn. When you see Wang Zhe Li go out there and say, not today, Carlos Esparza, this is my title to take back. Yep. When you see moments like that, beautiful.
Beautiful, brother.
And 2023 is only going to bring more.
Only to bring more. All I'll say about the year of 2022 was hell of a year.
Let me ask you this. Wrap it up. Last thing. One thing you're looking forward to in 2023. Don't give me the whole year. Just one thing. A fighter, a matchup, anything. Someone moving up in class, trying boxing, whatever. What's one thing you're looking forward to?
There's two things that I'm just going to pick one. I'm going to pick one, and I'm going to just pray that you and I are in sync as partners, as brothers, and you're going to say the other, all right? Gotcha. So I'm going to say it right here. One thing I'm looking forward to in 2023, Khamzat, the young Wolf Chimaev, retaining, getting gold, all right? I don't know where it's going to be. It could be 185. It could be 125. It could be anywhere. I have a feeling in my heart the young Wolf will hold up a belt at some point in the year 2023. Bet on it.
Okay. Griff, do me a favor.
Yep.
Little callback here. When I say the last name, say who.
I got you.
You want the young Wolf to hold up a title, but I want the old lion to come back. Ooh. I want him to come. When I say the last name, I ain't said it yet.
I'm curious. Who you saying?
You don't see it. When the lion comes back, and all you hyenas and walruses, and you come back and jackals, and you've been nipping at him, scratching him, thinking that he's gone, and thinking this is your throne.
Yep.
But when the former 205 king, pound for pound, the baddest man around, Giant Bones Jones.
Who?
Jones.
Who?
Jones.
He's coming.
When John Jones returns, UFC Africa might be too much to put into 2023. John Jones coming back, we gonna see. Is it his throne once again, or is time passed him up? That remains to be seen. Be sure to tune in to the main event right here on Franchise Sports Media all year. Go into our archives, look at previous shows, look at how we did on the year. Go and check out all of our other sports that we cover. Franchise is doing it all. We're going to do even more and bigger things in 2023.
Yes,
bringing
sir.
it to you guys. Thank you guys for all that you do. Griff, hell of a year, my man. It's been a pleasure doing this with you. It's been phenomenal. Can't wait for 2023, my brother.
Big things, brother.
This is
Griff and Kemp.
I'm Kalani Lua. This is the main event right here on Franchise Sports Media. Till next year, fight fans. Peace.